What's up, guys? Today we're talking about marathon running techniques, specifically how you can prevent those muscle cramps from happening in the middle of your race, in the middle of your training. When we talk about cramps and cramping when we're running, and especially when we get into those longer runs and those marathons, hydration and salt tablets always enter the conversation. And the electrolyte balance in your body is definitely an important thing to have. You definitely want to make sure that you're balanced, you're drinking well, and you've got that balance and that blend. But it's not the only reason that we get muscle cramps. In fact, a lot of times if we're dehydrated systemically. And a lot of you guys get cramps in very specific places. It's either in certain parts of your quad or your calf or your hamstring. And those are the type of cramps I want to talk about today. Now, a lot of times when we cramp, it's not just due to an electrolyte imbalance, it's due to neuromuscular fatigue. Our body's kind of working and straining, and those electrical little impulses that fire those muscles, they freak out, and all of a sudden we get that little twitching that occurs. A lot of times that happens because there's been some sort of mechanical compromise. My body was working all together as a unit. I got fatigued, something broke down, and then all of a sudden this balance, this tight, careful orchestra of movement that has been occurring has started to get a little faulty. Things are not in rhythm anymore. And usually what happens, certain muscles start working harder than others, and then that's why we start to see that huge load and that big neuromuscular fatigue that occurs in that area, and then that muscle cramp. So I'll give you an example of those hamstrings, because a lot of times these guys can tighten up. A lot of times when I am tall, I'm in a good position, my hips are forward. When my hips are forward, I can actually get my hamstrings working in connection with my glutes. They're always supposed to work together. They're never supposed to work alone. But what happens when we get tired is we break down in some way. Notice what happens when you stand in line, waiting at the movie theater or something else. You're always here. It's hard to stay here. Well, what happens in your marathon? The same thing. The other place we start to go is our body starts to break this way. We start to overextend in the hips. Some of you guys might call this an anterior pelvic tilt, where the whole pelvis tips this way. What happens when I put this kink in the system? My glutes shut off. I can't engage with them anymore. And now all of a sudden my hamstrings are hanging on for dear life. And guess what happens when you put yourself under a lot of strain, a lot of miles, a lot of intensity with this muscle that's doing all the work alone? It's gonna freak out at some point. So how do I control that? Well, I gotta go back to posture. I gotta go back to hip position. I gotta go back to pulling those feet up underneath me, because that's gonna kind of re-engage everything and get me going there. The same thing if I'm that person who gets these quad cramps. Notice a lot of times these quad cramps don't happen here, they happen in here in this vastus medialis, this inner part of the quad. A lot of times, again, that happens. I break down a little bit here, my cadence is a little heavy. I become a little bit more forward, a little more quad dominant. My hamstrings and glutes aren't working as hard because I'm not pulling those feet up. These guys get worked super hard. They start to blow up, especially when we start running on those downhills, and boom, once again, we're in trouble. And then the same thing with the calves. All of a sudden, as I've talked about in previous videos, if I see a loss down here, the way my foot hits the ground is all of a sudden off. My feet are landing in kind of weird places. My calves are working harder than they should, and they start to freak out. So end lesson here is, hey, there is a mechanical component to this. A huge part of running strong is being able to maintain my mechanics for longer periods of time. If my mechanics break down, it's not just that I'm gonna go slower or that I'm gonna work harder. There are some other consequences as well, and the biggest one are those cramps. In this next little segment, I'm gonna give you some specific strategies you can do in the middle of your race to turn the ship around. So a lot of times when those cramps occur, they don't occur in the first half of the race, they occur in the second half of the race when that fatigue has set in and we've probably piled on some miles where we're mechanically a little off, and then all of a sudden our muscles are like, no more, dude, we can't handle this anymore, we gotta do something else. The race is still long, it's still hard, it may be hot, there are all these factors you can't control. So the things that I want you to do are to focus on the things that you can control. And you can, believe it or not, a lot of times manage these cramps and turn them around so that you can finish your race and actually finish your race doing pretty good. The first thing I need to focus on is my breathing. A lot of times when our muscles tighten up, our breathing gets a little gaspy, it gets a little short-changed. We breathe through just our chest and our shoulders. So I need to relax. I'm gonna take 5 to 10 nose breaths. What that's gonna do is just re-engage that diaphragm, which is not only gonna get me to relax a little bit, but it's gonna get my diaphragm re-engaged in a way that it's gonna help support my hips and my everything else, so I'm good to go. We got a little live soundtrack out here on the top of San Francisco as we're talking about breathing and muscle cramps and all that stuff. So once we sort of have that going on, that can kind of solve some of those problems. The next thing I need to do is relax those arms and those shoulders. We hold a lot of tension here that can also contribute. So once again, can I just run a few little steps with my arms just shaking out overhead? Sometimes I keep bring them up overhead. Just doing anything to get them out of this stuck position, ideally with my breathing, is fantastic. The last thing I want to do, especially if I have those calf or quad cramps, booking it down a hill, sometimes I want to shorten up my stride. The way I'm going to shorten up that stride is by focusing on picking my feet up a little bit more exaggerated. I've done videos on pulling drills where you really pick your feet up underneath yourself. What that does is it gets your hips forward, it gets your hamstrings and glutes firing and working together. It allows your quads to chill a little bit. If I can implement those 3 things, that's going to slow me down just for a fraction. It's going to get me focused on the things that I can control and the things I can do. It gets my body working together as a unit once again, and then it gives me hope to get to that finish line. Try these tips. Your muscle cramps won't be as bad, and you'll definitely benefit. Guys, that is it. That's all we have today on muscle cramps. I know not exhaustive, we're just hitting the iceberg, but an important tip nonetheless. If you like this video, go ahead and let me know. Hit that like button. Do you have any comments or questions on some of the ideas we talked about? Future requests for videos? Hit me up in the comments below too. That helps us out. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Running Experience. We've got so many more great videos on there on everything from running technique to injury prevention to mobility work to run workouts that you can add in there. And finally, because you've gone all the way this far with us to the end of this video, we have a free gift for you. We want to give it to you. It is a downloadable marathon ultimate training guide. All you need to know, all jammed in one place for your next race. All you need to do to get it is to click this link in this video. If you happen to be on a mobile device, don't worry, there's a link down in the description. Go on either of those links, it'll take you to a page where all you need to do, enter your name and your email address, and we'll be able to personally send you that marathon training guide. Once again, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.